Are you cardioing? Are you cardioing? Are you doing cardio correctly? So that's what this video is gonna be about, is how to make your cardio sessions effective. You're already having to force yourself to do something that you don't necessarily want to do. I think that once you kind of get into a rhythm, it can get to something where you don't necessarily dread, especially if your cardio consists of like going for walks outside and things like that. It can get to a point where you might actually enjoy it a little bit. Like for me right now, I have long cardio sessions on this bike, and it's not, if I'm being honest, something I always want to do. So if I'm making myself do something I don't want to do, I definitely want to get the most out of it. So I'm going to talk about that today. And I'm also going to talk about establishing and thinking through what your goals are. I can already hear we're about to have a purple vehicle. Nope, he stopped. He's going to get a detail at European Detail next door. Perry, I'm going to start charging you for the plugs. You need to establish, okay, what are your goals? Are you trying to get crazy cut for a show, a photo shoot? Are you just trying to lose some weight? Are you actually trying to focus on cardiovascular health for your heart? I'm just gonna talk to the general person. Let's talk about trying to lose a little weight and be healthy. We need to simplify things and just realize what matters isn't necessarily the form of cardio that we do. It's just that we're putting ourselves in a calorie deficit. So that means you're burning more calories than you're consuming. You're also getting your body moving and making your heart work, going up and down with intervals or even consistently, because it's good for your heart health. Different studies say different things, but I think we can all agree getting yourself moving is good. Something that breaks my heart, I think that's kind of a intense or an exaggerative term to use when I talk about it, but it really does genuinely bother me, is when I'm driving down the road, and here in Arizona, it can be 110, 115, even up to 120 degrees in the summer. And I'll see an individual on the sidewalk, not meaning to be judgmental, but you can tell that they have not been taking care of themselves. They're very overweight, they're very out of shape, and they're out in 110, 115 degree weather going for a run. The chances of that person not being super beat up from that, or the fact that they're going to be back out there again the next day, it's probably not going to be the best scenario, the best situation. And unfortunately, what I think a lot of people in that scenario think is that this is what it takes. This is what I have to do in order to get in shape. And it's not true. They could get on a stationary bike like I'm on. You could be going for walks in the mornings, going for a couple hour walks if you have the time. You could be doing swimming laps. There's so many different ways to get into that calorie expenditure and burn calories that you don't have to do something like that that's like going to hell and back. That's not really sustainable. If you're going to have to find a way to start moving more, let's find something that isn't something that you're going to dread doing every day. Let's just at least start there, and then we can build momentum and work up from there. If you're going for walks or you're going for a run, obviously if you're going for a run, you're burning more calories because you're expending more, you're having to work harder to run than you are if you're gonna go for a walk. So let's look at it this way. If your target was to say burn 500 calories, well, now it's just gonna come down to how much time and how much effort am I willing to spend to burn the 500 calories? If I wanna get it done as fast as possible, well, then that means I'm gonna have to go faster. That means I'm like on this bike. Let's use the bike for an example. I'm gonna have to turn the resistance up higher. I'm gonna have to increase my tempo. And so I'm having to work harder, I'm burning more calories, and I'm gonna be able to be on here for a shorter amount of time to get to 500. But if I'm willing to give myself more time and not wanting to exert or have to work as hard, maybe I'm just gonna turn on a Netflix episode, or I'm gonna get on a phone call or something. And the work that would maybe take me 30 minutes is gonna take me an hour, but it's not as difficult. That might be a better fit for you. So first decide, what are my goals? 2, what am I willing to do to accomplish my goals? And what can I do that I'm not going to be necessarily miserable with doing? If you're a beginner and you're just trying to get yourself to the point where you can work up to not being so miserable doing different forms of cardio, just start with walking. Outside if you can, if you live somewhere that it's conducive. If you can, start your day that way. There's a lot of different studies that show being outside in the sunlight, fresh air, breathing that fresh air, unless you live downtown, it's still you're outside. There's something that's really good, not only physically, but mentally. 20-minute walk, 30-minute walk, if you're trying to burn a certain amount of calories, maybe it does take you a few hours. It just depends on what time you can allocate. And then build from there. When I started my shred, I didn't just get on this bike and go right into 70-minute sessions. My first couple weeks, when I started like 3 weeks ago, I was doing 30, 40 minutes at a time. And now today I've done 70, but I've worked up to it. And it's gotten to a point where I have the ability cardiovascularly that if I want to really up the tempo and up the resistance and burn calories in a shorter amount of time, that I can now do that and not absolutely hate my life. I like the challenge, but I'm not gonna use myself for this example because I'm a little bit of a sicko, a masochist, is that what it's called? To kind of simplify, pick a mode of cardio that you're going to be able to tolerate or get yourself to consistently do. I do not want to over fluff and flower that to say, don't ever do anything hard. You need to do things that are difficult. It's good for you, and it's also mentally gratifying when you get yourself to do something difficult that you don't want to do. If you're the person that said, Brenton, okay, I've tried to walk, I start with that, and then I'm not even consistent with that. Well, maybe you need to crank the heat up a little bit and start doing something a little bit harder and see how you feel after that. This isn't going to be a cookie cutter answer for everybody. You need to have enough self-respect, self-honesty to look yourself in the mirror and say, this is what I've done in the past. It's not achieving what I want now. And if I want the future to look different, then damn it, I might need to do things a little differently. That's all I'm asking you to do. It's different for each of us. But just as a general rule of thumb, after you've selected what that looks like for you, now we just need to decide what is our goal? Let's quantify our goal. Let's not just go through the motions. We need to know what we're doing and why we're doing it. And then once you figure that out, now you can decide, okay, what mode of cardio and for how long is going to be the most appropriate for me so I'm not just going through the motions. If I'm the type of person, I'm like, I want to burn 500 calories, I want to work hard, I don't want to just get on here and just kind of coast and go, or get on a flat treadmill and walk. It's going to take me a lot of time. So to make my time effective, then that means I know I need to raise the resistance, or I need to raise the incline on the treadmill. Or here's an answer. I hate them because I call them stairways to hell. But the Stairmaster or the Stair Stepper, whatever you want to call it, you can't really coast on that. I think the only way you could probably coast on that is if you leaned on it, bring your arms like that, maybe lifted your legs up. Because those damn things, they work. The reason why I don't use it for my cardio, the resistance bike I found actually, I get more conditioning in my legs. So again, this is where I would filter it down of what makes most sense for me. I want to preserve the muscle mass in my legs as much as I can. And so I've found that when I'm on a resistance bike, I actually get more definition in my legs because I keep that resistance high. My legs don't shrink. It's really good for holding on to the muscle mass while also giving me the ability to burn the calories I need to be in the deficit I need to be in to lose the body fat. So this is what makes sense for me. This is what I stick to. A part of being successful in something is your ability to keep doing things that are boring, are difficult, and have delayed gratification. You need to be able to delay what that cardio is going to produce, the result that it's going to produce for you over time. What you're wanting to see in the mirror, a time that you're trying to hit for your run or something like that. But what I want you to enjoy, that scared the shit out of me. What I want you to be able to do is learn how to enjoy the process. That doesn't mean it's going to be fun. It just means that you learn how to get yourself to do something difficult that you don't want to do over and over again, and you start to build self-discipline, you build self-respect, and that's where healthy self-love comes from. So respect the process, delay the gratification, and it makes a really powerful, cool combination. We were planning, full disclosure, to do the walk earlier in this video, but I completely forgot. Thankfully, Eric reminded me, so that's how we're gonna close this out and transition it. Going for a walk, I know I said I framed it for like beginners, it's a good place to start, and that's true, but whether you're a beginner or an expert, getting out and being able to be in that fresh air, be in the sunlight, think through things, I love it. So I don't want to discount it or diminish it, whether at any level you're at. I just want to talk to you about this 90-day shred that I'm going to be starting, because even though it's going to be a very intense program, you're going to be doing exactly as I do. I'm going to be walking you through every single step of the way. So I'm not going to sugarcoat it. It's going to be very difficult, but I also don't want it to be hyped up as like it's just there to make you miserable. Everything that I do is for a specific purpose, physically, spiritually, and mentally. And that's what we're going to be doing for this 90 days. I'm not just gonna give you some super intense, crazy workout to do in the gym for the sake of killing ourselves. It's going to have a purpose behind why we're doing it. I'm not just gonna have us do some crazy amount of cardio just for the hell of doing it. It's gonna have a purpose on how we do it and when we do it and why we do it. And then what I'm also gonna be doing is mentally, through the stories, through the content, through all the different ways that through this private account that I'm gonna be able to communicate with you, I'm gonna be on that bike talking to you through the mental processes that I take myself through to keep myself doing the things that I don't want to do, to keep myself in the mode of being able to respect and appreciate the process. I'll finish with this short little story. It was during one of my shreds about 2 years ago, and I was on the bike for a 70-minute session. And I was watching a documentary about this young man who is an Olympic swimmer. And to be straight with you guys, I was having a terrible attitude about being on that bike. I didn't really want to do it. That's a very fluffed way of saying I definitely didn't want to do it. I was kind of complaining in my head, what's the point? Like, why am I still doing this? Kind of just stupid negative thoughts that all just kept like building on each other. And as I'm watching this documentary, this man was only 21 years old. He was an Olympic swimmer. He had the world in his hand. Like he had success, he had money, he had fame, all the things that we all think we want and need, which is a lie. But from the world's view, this guy had it all. And he wasn't being stupid, he wasn't being irresponsible. He actually was just standing on a subway with his friends, and he had a watch on. And somehow, some way, some like freak fluke accident, the electrical current from the subway line picked up on his watch and it blew his legs off just as he's standing there on the subway. And this man went from being an Olympic swimmer to all of a sudden having no legs. And I realized all in an instant, like, one, I felt terrible about the attitude I had, but how much we have to be thankful for that we have the ability to use our health, to use the tools of our bodies to do things on a daily basis that are difficult, that aren't things we necessarily want to do, but it's a privilege. And if we can flip the way we think about it and see that doing hard things physically or mentally are actually a privilege instead of a burden, now we have a new fuel to get us to do these things that comes from a healthy place. Do it in gratitude, and I'm gonna do it with you every step of the way. Shredwithbrenton.com, links in the bio. Hopefully this video helped you. We'll see you in the next one.